Think of the last time you started something new. A new job, a new hobby or passion project, even a lifestyle change. What kind of thoughts were going through your mind? Were you excited and motivated to learn? Or were you anxious and self-critical, thinking things like, I should be better at this. It's not gonna work out. What am I even doing? I'm guessing you're in the latter group if you clicked on this video. I get those self-critical thoughts a lot whenever I start something new. And not long ago, I had a bit of a revelation that helped me change the way I approach starting something new. The revelation was this: you wouldn't move to a new city and immediately expect to know your way around. You would use tools like Google Maps, ask locals for directions, and learn as you go by just walking around the city. So why do we expect so much perfection from ourselves when we're embarking on a new career or project? See, I just started a YouTube channel. I posted my first video at the end of April. So this is really personal to me. Perfectionism held me back from launching for a really long time. I initially came up with the idea for this channel way back in 2019, and I actually created an Instagram page first in 2022, but it was stop and start, and honestly, it was just a stalling tactic. I still don't have very many followers over there. It's mostly just my friends, and I'm very inconsistent about posting. And I honestly don't even want to be an Instagram influencer. I want to be a YouTuber. I've been a big fan of YouTube for a long time. Seeing how other channels grew, hearing their stories about quitting their jobs and going full-time on YouTube, dreaming of someday having my own channel and that kind of freedom. I had pages and pages of ideas for videos, but I couldn't bring myself to actually make it happen. I wanted everything to be perfect before I posted my first video. I was terrified of being judged, of looking silly, of not doing it right, of being seen trying. So I didn't try at all for years. And I'm still scared. I cried before filming one of my recent videos. Seriously. And it turned out to be my favorite one yet. But I still get the voice in my head that says, nobody cares. What's the point? Why bother? It's not gonna work. Nobody's gonna watch you. Sometimes it's really loud. I frequently think about deleting videos or deleting the whole channel altogether. I get a little obsessed over how I'm perceived and whether or not I'm doing it right. That's what's at the heart of this fear and anxiety. The fear of failure. If you're a perfectionist or you struggle with control issues, you probably tend to intellectualize and study things, over-preparing as a form of protection. But the foundation of learning and creativity is experimentation and play. Fear is the enemy. Fear of making mistakes, of being seen trying. We can't play, create, and learn if we're afraid of making mistakes. You simply can't have one without the other. So we're afraid to be seen trying. Sticking with the travel analogy or moving to a new city, it's like we're afraid of being seen as a tourist. It's too cringy. We'd rather be taken for a local instead. And if you're a performer or a content creator, there's this strange dichotomy of being simultaneously afraid that no one's going to watch your stuff and terrified that people are going to watch your stuff, that they're going to see you trying. When we're starting something new, we're often comparing ourselves to other people who have had some time to get established and forgetting that they're still learning too, and likely failing in some ways. There's also an abundance of highlight reels on social media where everyone seems like an expert, and you can delete old videos that aren't performing as well or that might show you at a time when you were still learning and still trying to find your way. It's rare to see the beginning of a creator's journey. We don't often see the behind-the-scenes moments either. The mistakes or failures, the hours and years of practice, the heartbreak and rejection, quitting and starting over. But I love it when those people do show that because it's really refreshing and reassuring to see that. We hold ourselves back even further by thinking that we're already behind. We sit and stew in those spiraling thoughts of self-doubt, thinking we're alone with them. We become overly critical of ourselves and maybe even others as a projection of those feelings. We end up booing ourselves off the stage before we've even had a chance to perform. So how do we break the cycle? I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning and trying to figure this out. But I do have 8 tips that have helped me so far. Number 1 is to adopt a beginner's mindset. There's research out there about fixed versus growth mindsets. And a lot of that research is based around classroom settings with students, but it can easily be applied to anyone who's trying to learn and start something new. A growth mindset is the belief that personal characteristics, such as intellectual abilities, can be developed, and a fixed mindset is the belief that these characteristics are fixed and unchangeable. Research on these mindsets has found that people who hold more of a growth mindset are more likely to thrive in the face of difficulty and continue to improve, while those who hold more of a fixed mindset may shy away from challenges or fail to meet their potential. Sound familiar? Like I said, most of this research has been focused on classroom settings, and there are other factors beyond just mindset, like the environment and learning culture, but it's a good starting place if you think you may be struggling with a fixed mindset and want to change that. It could help reframe or redirect your thoughts. Curiosity versus judgment. How can I do this? Instead of why can't I do this? My second tip is to use self-compassion and self-acceptance as an antidote to self-criticism. There's some really great research from Dr. Kristin Neff, and her stuff was actually recommended to me when I was going through a particularly tough time. A mental health practitioner recommended her videos on YouTube. My first reaction was, okay, here we go. I've heard this before, this hokey self-compassion stuff, and I watched them, and I have to say, it changed my mindset. Self-compassion can be summed up as the process of turning compassion inward. So you learn to talk to yourself the way you would talk to a close friend or a family member. There's some surprisingly solid research and evidence around this practice, so I'll link some of her TED Talks below, and I recommend giving it a shot. My third tip is to be vulnerable. Let people know, I'm new here. I'm just learning. I'm just getting started. I'm still struggling with this one because I want to be seen as an expert. Even while filming this video, I'm trying to find the balance between being polished and professional and still trying to be relatable and casual. Tip number 4 is ask for help or advice. Just like that travel analogy, moving to a new city. You say, hey, I'm new here. Can you show me around? My partner helps me film and edit my videos. That's literally his day job. He makes TV for a living. So why wouldn't I ask him for help? But for the longest time, I didn't want to share this project with him because I wanted to do it myself. There was a stubbornness there. It seems totally bonkers now because he's helped me so much, and I honestly don't think this YouTube channel would exist. He's smiling behind the camera. I honestly don't think this YouTube channel would exist without him. I needed that additional push. I needed help, but I struggled to admit that. And that stubbornness, that perfectionism, being afraid to be seen, trying to be vulnerable, that gets in the way of us launching these passion projects. Tip number 5 is to seek out other people's experiences, how they got started and grew, their mistakes, and how they learned as they went. I've drawn a lot of comfort and inspiration from watching other creators and following their journeys as their channels have grown and evolved over time. A great example is the YouTuber Campbell Walker, aka Struthless. He's an illustrator, animator, content creator, and now author. He published a book called Your Head is a Houseboat back in 2021. Many of his videos are about mental health and the creative journey, with all the vulnerability and self-doubt that comes along with it. And there's a good dose of self-improvement, philosophy, and self-deprecating humor mixed in. He has some really great advice, and I'll link his channel in the description below, so go check him out. And don't just stick to your chosen medium or niche either. If you have creative friends, go see what they're doing. Ask them about it. Go to their shows, buy their art, subscribe to their YouTube channel. You'll get to see the reality behind pursuing a passion. Tip number 6 is to draw on principles from acceptance and commitment therapy. ACT is a type of psychotherapy that's based around action and values. It teaches you to do the thing you're longing to do, even though you feel scared and you feel anxiety. It's about avoiding avoidance, so you can live in alignment with your values. My friend Michelle, who's been a dancer, a fitness instructor, and performer for decades now, says she still feels fear and self-doubt anytime she's starting something new. She was launching a podcast and YouTube channel last year, and her advice was, do it scared. And I try to keep her voice in my head anytime I feel that same fear and self-doubt. Tip number 7 is to embrace all your imperfections and mistakes as part of your journey to getting better. My most watched video so far has a couple of very obvious mistakes. There was some text that I forgot to replace, and it's out of focus in several shots, but it ended up being my most watched video. So what am I gonna do? Delete it at this point? I love it, in spite of those flaws, and honestly, even because of it, because it's taught me that you can make mistakes and people will still watch your stuff. That was the biggest fear that I had to overcome, and that I'm still learning to overcome, is that things don't have to be perfect. It's better when they're not, actually. And finally, tip number 8 is to treat your anxiety with the scientific method, aka f around and find out if this, what then. Experiment until you find your niche, and then keep experimenting, keep learning, keep growing. Never stop learning. As Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus says, it's time to take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. This is especially liberating for us perfectionists out there. Once we give ourselves permission to mess up and treat it as part of the learning process, we're free. We really start to see magic happen. Embrace the chaos of not knowing. Let go. Let go of your control issues, baby. Oh, my God. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself. Clearly. And here's my final thought. If you're waiting for fear and self-doubt to go away before you start something new, you'll never start anything. Do it. Do it scared. Do it badly. Do it awkwardly. Just do it. I'm claiming that meme now. And then we end with the clip of Miss Frizzle.
Take chances. Make mistakes.
As Miss Frizzle from the Magic School. This is my line, hold on. Here we go.